Hi everyone. Okay, continuing on with the important key elements of my case. One thing I have learnt in my journey is that you should never judge a book by its cover. And, people have this perception on the surface that because someone may appear to be, all that, doesn't necessarily mean that they are whom they appear to be as if somebody that you can trust. All I can say is that I said, I knew that that the system was very, very, very corrupt. And one can easily point the finger and blame such and such person. But at that time, linking with what had happened to me and what I had discovered at that time, there was other issues, other cases or big busts that had gone on back at that time. What I'm saying is there were things going on that this I know I can mention because it actually went public. But there was a big bust back then linked to all the things that I was going through at that time. I'm talking about from 2010 or, when I lodged a complaint, even though I knew I was targeted before these women came into my life. It has been a slow downhill process, but I knew I was being targeted way back as far as by 2007 and 8, but it's been a gradual, slow process, and I knew I was being taken advantage of, and and I had been selected for something that was going to be out of my control. But in saying that, that incident with what had happened back then, there was a big bust linked to what I was going through. I have reason to believe where had led to a drug ring or something. It was on the news, and I know I'm safe to say that. And it's not hard to backtrack and find out the busts or the big busts that happen as far as, people be getting caught out with P-labs and stuff like that. But it was linked to all that. What I was going through at that time back then. But it was also the reason why I changed my name to my maiden name, and I had a name change, was to protect my children's identity. And these are the decisions I had made in advance when I saw the signs and the signals of what was happening to me. But there was a big bust with a big drug warehouse linked to what I was going through at that time. And they were people that were actually involved in government jobs. And they were people that I knew. And I'm talking about people in prominent positions like being a lawyer, people being prosecutors, and that information was actually in the paper. Now, unfortunately, they don't like to, I don't know why, but, just things like that, the public has to be aware because, these people, the public are entrusting them. Not only that, they're working with other good, honest people, and it puts their life at risk if they aren't aware about, these kind of things. But I can verify that they were all linked together, and I knew, like I said, I knew that the system was corrupt, and with all the experience that I had, and I can only say one thing is that I just know it was God that protected me, because I knew some of these people personally because I work with them. And so that was the other reason why I was scared and I was petrified. And I did everything I could to try and get help, but I was already in the situation. The letters that I actually wrote to the police when they declined or didn't take my letters seriously. I even wrote those letters and gave it to the Independent Police Code of Conduct. They never took it seriously. And in fact, the evidence will show in court they had no intention of taking my complaint seriously at all. But at that time, they were all linked to a big bust that had happened, to a petty warehouse bust. So, my life has been a real serious duress set of circumstance, and I haven't been able to do anything about it, but I feel it is important for me to tell my story because I know that what has happened to me has affected my family. And the problem is that when lies are being covered up, it will just take out other honest people. And yes, I've been a threat because I've known too much or know what's been happening to me has been beyond serious. But I'm not prepared to put my own family, like if my family knew back then what I was going through, what had happened, none of them will keep on going along as if, because what has actually happened is this project or whatever these people were doing, they were trying to water down the seriousness of what was actually happening, at the same time using everyone that I was close to, and then they would get into trouble or be set up. So that's what's actually happened. But that is the danger when lies just keep covering up other lies and it just gets bigger and bigger. So that's why I'm telling my story, and I will be touching on my court case. But everything is linked together. I knew I was subject to cyberbullying. I knew I was subject to something that was completely 100% out of my control. I couldn't do anything about it. And I've actually had someone ask me recently, was there anything that I could have done back then that would have changed the situation better, where I could have done something better back then, to avoid anyone from getting affected in such a bad way like it has now. And no, there wasn't. I believe at that given time, the decisions I made at that point of time were the best decision and basically the only decision that I could make for me. So the next video clip, I will be going through the steps of my court case. Just basically, I'm just focusing on the key elements and the key pointers in regards to my case. So you guys would have watched that little workshop that I went on about covering about what is a privacy breach, where I asked you to think about it, and then we came up with what I considered as a privacy breach as an individual. And that is what I've actually disclosed to you as a private person that I am and was back then and still am. At that time, a breach is, when people are passing personal information things like that. There are things that that are happening, and in your belief, it is happening. But you have no choice. I mean, all you can do is leave a trail of evidence. Without it, you don't have a leg to stand on in court whatsoever. And yes, I have been outnumbered for years, absolutely outnumbered. Excuse me. And I've just had to take the long way around with everything. But it's really good to actually speak up and tell my story and put a closure to everything, and just go with it as things happen. So I'll just leave it at that for now. But I will be going, next step will be, I'll be just covering the main pointers with my court case, and then leading up to where I'm at the moment. Okay, thank you.